Hello, and welcome to another edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where I'm doing this on Boxing Day, but I wanted to just run through the Christmas Day puzzle that did appear in yesterday's Times, in case any of you had a look at it and were wondering about some of the clues. So it was a mixture, actually, this puzzle, not too difficult, but with the occasional moment of very tricky clue, which could certainly have held up some of us. So I won't do all of the clues, but I'll just pick a few of them. Apologies for the background noise. I'm on my laptop today, so it's a bit noisier than usual. So this one, someone has to kill serial criminal in sensational novel. Now, I certainly spent some time on this clue because there's so many different bits to it, and I wasn't at all sure what the definition was in the first place. And I spent a while thinking that sensational novel was saying I needed to put an anagram of novel around the outside of a serial criminal, or perhaps a word for to kill plus a serial criminal. I thought the clue might mean someone, or someone has to. In fact, that's totally wrong. The definition here is sensational novel, and someone was rather evilly being used as a definition of bod, as in, somebody is a bod. And then to kill was ice, which is another great short synonym for to kill, but one that we don't see very often. And now you can see that serial criminal can be a ripper, as in the Yorkshire Ripper. Give bodice ripper, which is sort of an old word for a sensational novel. So I certainly didn't find that easy, and well done if you did. Which other clues did I think? This clue was an interesting one, 16 down, because I think experienced solvers would have a massive advantage. And that's because there is a word for warriors that you do sometimes see in cryptic crosswords, and it's impy. I can't remember what tribe the Impi were from. Maybe it was from the Impi tribe, but they were a warrior race anyway. And so if you see warriors in a clue, you should look out for IMPI as contributing to the wordplay, or even the answer if it's a four-letter word. Now, so least courageous all of a sudden becomes much easier if you're thinking about putting Impi in the middle of something. I'm sure everyone now can get wimpiest, with West cluing being defined as Europe and America, which is again slightly evil, to be honest, because unless you knew the word impy, you certainly were unlikely to think of Europe and America as being clued as I was certainly thinking of E plus US or something like that until I remembered impy as a possibility. Let's have a quick look here. This is not perhaps a difficult clue, but certainly refers to a difficult word. So long-necked bird, well, that's defining the answer, which is crane. Beginning to eat is E, and lots of herrings at first. Well, cran is a word for a lot of herrings. I can't remember. I actually think it defines a specific number of herrings, like 1,000 herrings or something. But yeah, if you didn't know that word, again, you might have looked at this and thought, what on earth's going on? Not a straightforward clue. That was I4, which wasn't too difficult. Spanish bar includes whale on menu starter. Well, here you just had to read the clue very precisely. If you did that, you might have been able to spot that the definition here was Spanish. And if you get that and you key in on the word whale in the clue, we've talked before about there is a short synonym for a whale that often comes up in crosswords, and it's orca. So if somebody said you're looking for an 8-letter word, somebody's Spanish that includes the word orca, then I think many of you would be able to come up with Minorcan. And yeah, so here we have M for menu starter with in for bar, INN, around the word for whale. So again, a bit of crossword ease there that would have made that clue significantly easier. Let's have a look, see if there's anything else that we should particularly talk about. Realistic, that refers to a French phrase which some of you may or may not have been familiar with, but it was a simple anagram, so not terribly difficult. That was another anagram. Award Boy, surprisingly, is an anagram of Broadway. Again, another anagram. This one was quite cleverly worded. Youngster causing havoc, finally shot by mistake. If you're like me and read this clue as being a word for a youngster, and then tried to take the end of havoc for havoc finally, which would give you a C, and then find a 5-letter word for shot by mistake, you would have been there a long time, because that isn't how to read the clue. And I needed a bit of help from the crossing entries there to come up with the fact that actually it's actually a simple clue once you're told what the definition is, which is youngster causing havoc. Once you know that, finally shot can only really be T, and then you're looking for a 5-letter word for a mistake, and error is probably quite a quick synonym that you could come up with there, terror being a youngster causing havoc. So good example of the setter misleading there. Lying motionless in bed having removed clothing, that was in, which is just plain text, it's there in the clue, in, and then birth without its clothing, i.e. without its outside letters, would give you inert, which is lying motionless. Parterre, that was a fairly difficult word, I think. Part for some, though, that's fairly standard. And then wandered briefly was erred without the what I'm doing here. But part, oh goodness me, sorry about this. Then erred without its final letter would give you parterre, which is a garden. And then we have this clue. Now, again, this is one of those words I'm never quite sure how to spell, so I always need to be very careful whenever I see it, because I always try and spell it like this. No, not like that, but like this. Harumph. I think that's because of how I say it. I say harumph as if it has a U as a second letter. Whereas actually there is no such word as this. There is such a word as this, harumph, which is to sound dissatisfied. And then you've got cheer up, which is a reversal of hurrah, H-U-R-R-A-H, with MP inside for policeman, which is policeman's much more usually cop or PC or something like that. But here we have MP, which I think stands for military policeman. Military police. So there you go, harumph. One to watch out for, because that, especially if this letter is unchecked, I think that's very easy to get wrong. I think that's about it. I don't think we need to go to town on the rest of the clues. I think actually we'll just talk about this one. This was nasty. One teaching correct pronunciation, about to swallow energy drink. Well, this actually is a fairly extraordinary clue, because here we have a reversal of one teaching, which was Don. Oh, goodness me, what we would do if we could actually get the cursor in the right place. Plus RP being reversed as correct pronunciation, because I think RP stands for received pronunciation. And that's all being surrounding E for energy, to give a drink, which was Perno. So, especially even if you had all the letters there, you'd have blank E, blank N, blank D, which would probably, as a pattern, fit about 1 million words. So not easy to get a grip on that. And one teaching correct pronunciation about to give DONRP, I think, is very, very hard. So commiserations if that stumped you. I think that's totally reasonable to get stumped on that one. Anyway, that's enough of that. Happy Christmas to everybody. I hope you had a great time, and we'll be back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.